start, sir.
Hello. Uh, can I start now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, today's presentation is on commercial application of cold chain in horticulture and pharma. And I congratulate the Badi University for taking this topic because this is of very important application as of now because of two reasons. Number one, because cold chain keep the nutritive value of our food, especially perishable food, fruits, vegetables, milk, meat, poultry, everything in good shape, which is more we need now to combat the COVID-19 situation to make human more healthy and immune. And secondly, also from pharma point of view, because the uh, vaccine which is being tried now by about 150 candidates world over, and about 50 of them have been purchased by two big companies in US. Why? Because if any of those companies they come up with the vaccine for COVID-19, then its distribution and logistic will be a big issue because the vaccine will be transported and preserved around minus 70 to minus 80 degrees C. It's a very huge requirement and every period cannot be provided. So that's why the fears are that even if you read the editorial of yesterday's Tribune, that even if the COVID-19 vaccine comes, its cost will be prohibiting because its logistic support will be prohibiting. So these two issues are very important for commercial investments, for those who want to take up this as venture, as a commercial activity, as academic research activity. So that's why this topic become very important. Uh, Coming to the structure, how the things I shall be covering because it's a very wide topic. So uh, cold chain first, what are the implications, what cold chain components are, how does it work, and then what are the commercial applications because commercial I mean it is different from academic, it is different from research, it is just the commercial application of for any investor. These issues will be important. Next will be the horticulture, that's the concerning the perishable produce the most, where the post-harvest management will be of very important role and therefore the cold chain will be very effective there. Pharma is next important item and then whatever conclusions we want to draw. So I will progress in my presentation in this fashion. So if we look at the present scenario, how various sectors are using this cold chain application formats, dairy is the largest one in India because as you know that more milk is produced in the area where there is more fodder and where there is more fodder there is more rainfall. So it means the spoilage of a milk with bacteria and other things will be very fast. So we need immediately chilling of the milk within 4 hours. And that's why the Gujarat, Maharashtra and other states they have formed the co-ops where the cooling facility is in the vicinity in the village itself and the farmer they bring the milk and within 4 hours they chill it in the village level. Then bulk coolers come, they keep it and then milk is distributed all over the country after homogenization to Delhi. Even Mother Dairy get from there, Amul get from there, and to the extent that weekly about half a train of milk comes from Gujarat to Bengal because Bengal produce very less milk. So that's the role of cold chain, how dairy has improved a lot in India, and probably India is the most significant example in the world to show how small farmers have been linked to the markets through the cold chain applications. Next candidate is fish, where we have the sea fish mostly, and because the inland fishery they harvest in the evening and it is sold by the night, so we don't need hardly much of the cold chain. But we look at the coastal sea fish marine areas, whether they are the prawns exported all over the world, because we produce very good jumbo prawns in India. Our fish from Andhra border, you see the fish going to the Nepal, to J&K, all those, and although it's not even not very modern and very scientific type of the cold chain, but they put in the crushed ice and they maintain the cold chain like that for weeks together, because from Andhra to Nepal it takes about 10 days for the truck to reach. So in the case with J&K, so we can understand how even the fish has been made to travel all over the country with this cold chain application, maybe remote even. Pharma absolutely has to be through cold chain, whether it is production or the packing, which is mostly done 10 to 15 degrees C, or various forms of vaccines and medicine, they are all kept in the cold chain. We will cover this later on, but pharma essentially has to be dealt in the cold chain. Meat also is very important because we are the good exporter of the buffalo meat from India, and Middle East the biggest market, and we supply the best meat from India to Middle East. They pay very high price also, and all that goes from in the cold chain slaughtering houses. They make it in the evening, they freeze it overnight. Early 4 a.m. the trucks leave to Tughlakabad or Mumbai for the Nhava Sheva port. From here, by sea, containers, refrigerated ones, it goes to Middle East and other African countries. So that's how the meat cold chain also has developed very well, especially in case of the buffalo meat. You know, the confectionery item, they all have the milk and fats, so they also have to be preserved in cold chain, otherwise the bacteria, fungi and mold, they spoil them very fast. And about 50% of the production in India is getting cold chain treatment. So is the case with the poultry, which used to be a little less, but now improved because the US poultry has got entry into the India, and we lost the case in the International Court of Justice for prohibiting US poultry in India under the WTO. So meat poultry is coming to India, container loads of that. So it's all coming in poultry, and its distribution from wholesale arrivals to the network in the country to the very remote villages, because India is protein deficient, and that's the plea they took in the international court. So here also the cold chain very good coming up. Only segment where it has not come up well and is less than 10% of the fruits and vegetables, because they are produced by small farmers. Putting them together through co-ops or associations or companies difficult in India because of our mindset. But nonetheless, we need bigger cold chain application. That's why many government agencies, especially Ministry of Agriculture and National Horticulture Board, are putting more emphasis on this part of the cold chain development to prevent the perishables from getting waste and providing nutritional food. Well, just to give you the idea that how cold chain is important, because this is the study done by the FAO UN for the various continents and countries, but we in India fall here in the south and southeast states of losing the food distribution in the world. So there was a conference held in Germany and study was undertaken by FAO. Divided is the loss stage. This one we have this agriculture loss, means the production stage where we harvest and keep in the sun. We are not able to protect it properly, so it happens there. Next come to the post-harvest losses during the handling part, where also we lack facilities at the farm level, and up to that will come the processing. Mean we prepare the produce for packing or bringing in proper containers to the distribution network. So here also you can see that processing does not mean the dibba bandi. Processing means making the produce ready to be put into different packs, whether boxes or containers or something. So here also losses are too much, and small losses do also happen in the distribution because our reefer transport system is not very well developed in the country. There are very few reefers, and the utilization is less if somebody has it. And last stage, red one, is the losses which are held at the consumption level, which means the at plate level in our country, in developing country, we consume everything, so the losses are less. But in the as compared to the Europe and America, where you can see the losses are too high at the consumer level, because they took too much servings on the plate, and they look for the expiry dates. They look if the produce doesn't look good, they just send it back to the supermarkets. So here the losses in the, as more developed the countries are, you can see even the industrial Asia, the losses are much more there. But when you come to Africa, the West Asia, the Central Asia, the Southeast Asia, the Latin America, the losses at consumer level are too less because we consume almost everything where even things getting bad. So nonetheless, it shows that how the cold chain is important at all levels of production, whether farm or handling or processing or distribution or consumption level. And then what is the concept of cold chain? It is the proper temperature and humidity maintenance through the whole supply chain, so that produce is handled well, and temperature, as you know, spoil the produce. So it is the proper maintenance and temperature through cold chain. And it is also to maintain the crispiness and freshness of the produce. If you eat apples after 6 months and keeping in the cold atmosphere storage, then you can see that it's still crispy after 6 months. You see now, which was not available before, but now last 8 to 10 years, you see that you get apple from the market, you just eat it or make a bite of this. It is very crunchy, full of juice, and if your mouth is full with juice and the splash of droplets on your face, which shows that fruit is turgid, is crisp, and that's all happen due to cold chain now. It's commercially available in the country, especially more in apples. And then it's a good link to link the farmer with the consumer and market. So cold chain is becoming day and day very important. Therefore, we have now the National Center for Cold Chain Development in the country. So that's how this is a whole concept, how to link producers, or in case of pharma, the manufacturers, to the end consumers. In standard format of cold chain in horticulture, there are various segments. What makes it? Harvest stage, we require the harvesting in proper way and keeping in the shade. Then from there it comes to the pre-cooling. Pre-cooling is the removal of the field heat immediately at the field level, just cooling it down to control its respiration rate and preserve the carbohydrates. Then is the minimal processing. Minimal processing is the something where you, for example, if you talk about Himachal, then we produce so much cauliflower and other vegetables. So we do trimming of the leaves, or for apples, we do the cleaning of the apples, shining of the apples, grading of the apples, or in case of the fruits, we do banana ripening. So there are pack houses for apples or vegetables. So this is minimal processing, which make it ready for cold chain. Mind it, because we cannot put it into cold chain or cold store anything which is not properly maintained at the harvest level or pre-cold chain level. And then it goes to climate cold stores, whether they are simple cold store with the temperature and humidity control, or they still have the additional component of the gaseous control known as the controlled atmosphere within the cold store. And next leg is the refrigerated transport, the reefer. Your milk come through that, chocolates and medicine come through that, ice cream which you eat all over the country come through reefer transport. And lastly, the sale point in your refrigerators, in your homes, in your retail. To all these segments, you require the typical cold chain. And to show a practical example, I can show you this slide. If you see that this is a typical story of apples. On the left-hand side, if you see, these are produced, this is a red delicious variety in the Kinnaur area, and you can see the steep, how difficult it is in the back. Farmers are producing through making very good basins and very good pits here. And then you can see that he has drip irrigation also. He is putting so much effort, and small trees having so many fruits. So you can understand, to bring this fruit from this area, harsh climate, to the consuming market like this in the all over the country, how big difficult it must be. Handling, pre-cooling, packaging, grading, reefer transport, keeping in the cold store for 6 months and making available to you, and you buy it about 200 rupees a kilo in summers. So that's how this is the very typical challenge. Another slide, if you see, these are cherries, such a fragile fruit. It is being pre-cooled under the film of thin water at 2 degrees C in Italy. I was called there to deliver a lecture there on the Indian status. So you can see that in Italy, how they are bringing the cherries in these containers, in these crates, and chilling temperature here, and then they are further grading it here, keeping in the plastic bags and sending to cold store, and then all around the year they supply these cherries to the all of the Europe. And based on this concept, now we are having in Himachal establishing one small cherry pre-cooling unit in Thanedhar area under World Bank project, where I used to be consultant. We planned it that way. So these are the practical example. I say that with cold chain application from harsh climate of Kinnaur, how to make the produce so good available to all over the country over a period of time, maybe up to 6 months or a year. This is how the cold chain play significant role in providing you the nutrition. India's Indian agriculture supply chain is very inefficient because we have many players in India. So therefore the cold chain application is very difficult. We have here the producer, we have the consolidator, we have the commission agent, we have the transporter, we have the wholesaler in Delhi sitting, we have the retailer, then we have the consumer. So this whole chain of perishables, you see the fresh produce was so good, and middleman also kept it for some time. There's a loss of quality and this thing nutrition and looks. Then there are so many wastages in the overall quality, and there's a value loss overall. So with the absence of cold chain, our wastages are very high in India because our farmers are small, and putting them together in big farms is a little difficult, but nonetheless we are able to do something. As compared to the developed country, they have very short chain. Farmer, he's a bigger farmer, he can afford cold chain at his farm level. Wholesaler, he also can afford it. Then it is a trader, retailer, and then consumer finally. So here the losses are very less and the quality of produce is very high. So your agriculture supply system becomes very efficient. This and cold chain is coupling that also. If you look at this picture, then during that conference by FAO study in Germany, this is the scene at the airport in Germany, Frankfurt, where the produce coming from tropical country like India is going there by air. You can see there's bananas over-ripened in the box. You can see the asparagus, and in those countries, asparagus, even if it's getting little D-shaped or it is not straight, they throw it away. You can see cauliflower or the broccoli getting the little yellowish color, they throw it away. So this is here how our produce goes waste there, even before reaching the destination country, because Germany used to be hub for the transporting tropical produce. So you can understand if cold chain is not maintained properly, then how so many losses to the country as a whole and different farmers happens. And this is the real picture from the airport quarantine department, and for disposal we have to pay extra money for that. So cold chain becomes so important right from the production stage to the distribution network up to retail. This is just to visualize the physical damage happening halfway to the consumer. This is another picture of the tomatoes being in Nasik, Pune, because we know that when in rainy season there are huge rains and the tomato production supply is less all over the country, including Pakistan and Bangladesh. Then those neighboring countries, commissioner general, they come to the Nasik farm. Here they get the produce graded. For you can see for grading for the export how they are keeping in the green stage. For the nearby Nasik area, Maharashtra, Karnataka, around there, they keep the red stage, and they do gradings for the nearby Mumbai or other Maharashtra consumption places. But here, whatever they go through transshipment at Atari border, which we have developed those facilities, there also I was with the National Horticulture Board, through the Punjab Agro Industry Corporation, we are able to send good quantities of tomatoes to Pakistan, because in the non-veg meat they use a lot of potatoes and the onions and tomatoes. So, but the farmers come at the farm level, they do grading, they get the grading done there. You can see the quality reaching all the three segments of market in a cold chain in a very good way. And you get also in the rainy season tomato in Delhi or North India very, very expensive, 60 rupees to 80 rupees a kilo. So that's how the cold chain plays so much important role, because otherwise it is the hot temperature coupled with the high humidity and rain, so spoilage are much more. Typical example of fruits and vegetables, if somebody is not following the cold chain like this, here they are not doing it for some fruits, and here not doing for pomegranate which are produced in Kullu Valley, then with high rain there is a lot of damage. So cold chain cannot do anything unless they go for the post-harvest handling part quite well. But wherever there is a good attraction for money, you can see these are the picture of the produce being exported from India. We are the second largest producer of bananas, and we do export to Middle East from bananas. You can see a farm level they are producing. They are keeping the plastic film and sleeves on the fruit so that birds don't damage. And they ripen, they send it export through sea to Middle East. We are good exporter of bananas. We are the probably largest producer of grapes in the world. And there was a time when we thought that India cannot produce grapes being a tropical country. But today we are the exporter of highest quality grapes, and they fetch very good high price world over. Whether you go to Paris or you go to supermarkets, Marks Spencer in London or in Frankfurt in Germany, our grapes have the highest. Only because through the cold chain applications, the farmers place discipline at the farm level to elongate the berries. They do the pre-cooling at the farm level within 2 hours of harvesting. They keep the crates and pre-cooling container at the farm level itself. From here they go through airport and by sea, mostly by sea, to Netherlands. From where there's a redistribution all over the world. And so is the case with the papaya for Papuan extraction. So I'm telling you that wherever there's good money through export, then there's a good deployment of the post-harvest treatments and the cold chain. So therefore our farmers have to be united. Our investors have to go there to put the cold chain system in place so that farmer get very advantage and everybody in the value chain get something. This is another example of tomatoes. The same study when we did for the Maharashtra, we did for the Karnataka also. You see that these people were keeping tomatoes here quite well graded in Nasik and bringing in the good baskets, treating it, but they're not good. But here you come to see the comparison here. Then they're good here in Nasik in the crates, but they are so bad in the bags. 20-40 kilo in Bangalore, and therefore they are not able to do even domestic trading good. You will see the crushing of tomatoes down below when they will keep 25-30 kilo in cement bag or some other bag. This will happen. So these are the small things we have to guide people, and cold chain can show the difference in application between these extremes. Another picture of the bananas coming to the Azadpur Mandi from the Maharashtra, Bhusawal, other area. You can see how badly they are being unloaded. These are the mangoes coming in the same trucks or same container. They are, even though during transit, these boxes are being damaged. And the insulation, you see the dry leaves of palms. They are providing some cooling or some insulation. And here they are doing transshipment from train to small truck to come to Punjab or Himachal from there, as J&K. And these are simple cement wagons where they transport cement also, iron saria also, coal also, and then here they transport this also now. So they have started one train now on the perishable produce connecting various cities, but that's the kind of situation we cannot do unless you have the improvement in the basic handling system and conceptualization of the cold chain first. This is another example of cold chain application. Even if you have the infrastructure, if someone investor put in money, this is an example how bad things can go, even if there is a cold chain. So it means the role of university like your one or other universities is good to have the courses or the vocational training on cold chain where people can be guided. Through these examples, you will see that this is lychee coming from Bengal to Delhi, and they did in the plastic bags, and again they put in carton bags. And by coming to Delhi, it was just rotting like anything because of even it was cold chain, but there was no respiration for the lychee fruit in the film. So even if there is a cold chain application, things can go bad. In this example, you can see these are mangoes we ordered for the festival in Delhi, fruit festival in Delhi, from the Pune and Bangalore, who produce the best mangoes in the country, and they export also from Pune. And you can see they brought it, and when the refill truck for which we gave the money as NHB to bring and to show farmers how they produce can be sold at a higher price. So then you can see that there also when the truck reached on 4th day in Delhi, our fruits were just oozing out the juice from them. So when there was a truck, there was so much overloading in the truck and stuffing that here the air circulation system, which you can see in the end, it could not work because air kept these fruits in the front, in the back quite frozen, but here in the front they were not able to have proper circulation. So you can see all these fruits are rotting and juice coming out daily on the 5th day, whereas the Mangoes can be transported for 2 weeks all over the world with the cold chain. So that's kind of things. Even if you have the cold chain system or you have the infrastructure, probably your technician need to be trained to handle them properly. This is another example of onion sent to Europe through reefer container. You can see the shipment in the sea itself, they are all sprouting. Who is responsible? Because our scientific institutions, they are full of literature and publication of papers, but nobody is coming forward to guide these people how to do. Somebody has invested money on buying these onions. He has put container on the load and on the sending through sea, paying the freight in advance. But this is the condition of the onion going to Europe. There is another consignment by air sending leafy vegetables from Calcutta to Netherlands. You can see they are turning from green to reddish on the way. When they arrive there, there are the cartons there. But so farmers are producing excellent thing. There's a carton, there's a cost, everything is being done. Infrastructure is there, but in the absence of proper protocols or proper handling, they are getting waste. So universities and people have a lot of role to produce technician in these areas as well. Again, two examples of cold chain. This is in Bombay, where you can see that imported fruits are so well kept in the cold store that they are all lined up well. All the staking system is so that there's a gap between the two stakes, and also in the all boxes they have the ventilator holes so that this cold air coming from this system can go through well and circulate all around. And when the pressure of the air goes less, then another length they have another level of the air cooler so that the air flows enough. So you can see it's well planned. Then probably this produce travel from Europe to India is being distributed anywhere, like kiwis are coming from New Zealand, Europe are coming from Washington to India, from China to India, from New Zealand to India, from Australia to India. Now mangoes are coming from Australia to India. So you can see how beautifully they are being imported and cold chain is handling. And even the air should not escape cold air. They are having these strip curtains here. You can see the smooth surface to let the system run over that. But here you see that this is another typical example in Delhi, simple cold store, but well kept, neat and clean. And you can see the bags full of chilies here, dry chilies. But you can, this is another story in Indore where farmers keeping in the cold store. He has complained that his potatoes are sprouting inside in the bag in the store itself. So when we went to inspect it, we found that the chamber here, in the end of the chamber where he's keeping these potatoes, he's not getting enough air circulated there. So cold chain is not simply putting infrastructure in place, but it's how to make them happen, proper cooling, proper airflow, proper stacking of the bags, very important. So in the case of the mushroom coming from Sonipat to Delhi market, if he is able to put into small container like this to 200 grams bag, it is selling like hotcakes. If we make little bigger, people are less buyer, and here still bigger 5 kilo bag, nobody is buying it. So, and the same shop, and from same place in Sonipat, the same shop in the Azadpur Mandi. So post office handling before cold chain is very important. So if this type of mushroom you send through trucks, in the reefer trucks, nobody will buy it. But this type of small bags, if you send through on a motorcycle or scooter to retail, people will buy it. So it's a handling part, packaging part also very important. So in the case of the KVK mangoes in the Kalahandi and area in Odisha is very backward. They produce the mango latest in the season, and you see somebody simple, a graduate guy is putting a shed to prevent mangoes getting hot and waste. Grading there, put into bags is sending in the reefer truck to Delhi, and because the Odisha's at latitude is little up than rest of the India, so they produce mango a little later in the KVK region. KVK, the Kalahandi, Bulangir, so very difficult area where you remember that there's a Belchi Gaon here, Indira Gandhi being PM visited on Oont, on the camel to visit those areas. So even those areas, small practice, someone young guy is doing excellent work there. So this is how PHM and cold chain can make new entrepreneurs grow up. Simple example of Kinus, simple hand grading and waxing, and this is sending to cold store and selling after 3 months. So even these small technologies can do better. Little advanced, pre-cooling as I told in those developed countries. This is example in Mumbai where people are keeping vegetable before export here. Can you phone them?
Which board is the base clear? The screen has gone.
It is showing, sir.
You are able to see?
Yes, sir.
It is not.
Slides are there.
Yes, sir.
But it is.
Can you fix it up for me? Because my screen is showing only the names Dr. J.K. Sharma, Dr. Bharadwaj.
In the bottom, you will see your photographs.
In
There
the
you can.
box. Yes, should I click it?
Yes, sir. Click it, sir, and it will show you your slides.
Is okay now? Right?
Yes, sir. It is okay.
Now, so you can see these bananas in Delhi market in Azadpur cold store. Here somebody is putting them in the ripening chamber and the cold store, and ripening is done at 14°C. And you can see his banana being over crushed here. He is just keeping in the container more than it can accommodate. You can see the close up here. He should put half than this, because this is before it can reach the consumer, he is getting crushed here itself at the handling part itself in the cold store, in the ripening store, because ripening in the cold store. The another example is same market, somebody doing this baby bananas and his premium bananas selling. You can see the carton good, you can see inside the film packaging one to contain the humidity inside. And then is feeding, this is the Desai banana being ripened in Delhi. So you can see that even technology is available at both the places, but human resource not sensitive enough to understand this problem or this problem or this problem. I mean, he's not proper grading is not done. All even split fruits are there, part of the consignment in the crates. Here it is overloading and crushing of the bananas. Here is crushing even in the storage ripening stage. As compared to this, he is able to fetch good price. So cold chain application has more to do with the technical part as well. You can see these bananas in USA. They keep on traveling from one continent to another, because USA does not produce banana. It goes from Latin America or from other don't below Africa. But you see this in this whole packaging system, they have the raw bananas after proper grading. They keep these pads where they keep on absorbing the ethylene being produced in the container, and they cover it with plastic film. So you get in USA such big bold bananas. They travel continent to another continent. That's how cold chain is playing role, which we can also do. Now, various components which we discuss now, we can see that there's a pre-cooling, mobile pre-cooling units, whether it's stationary in the field or they are mobile pre-cooling units. You see the example of Apple, they are doing that. And pre-cooling is done for optimal temperature to bring to the cold storage. Before that, pre-cooling is done. Cold storage can be there for normal positive temperature, 0 to 12. Mostly fruits are stored here. There are freezing facilities below minus 18 degrees Celsius. Your ice creams are kept here. Your meat is kept here, and your ice cream freezes minus 32 degrees Celsius. Your controlled atmosphere storages for most expensive produce, low oxygen, or high CO2 and low temperature and high humidity. Refrigerated trucks are containers and controlled humidity containers. There's different components how to make commercial application in horticulture or even this thing. One small example how the cold storage for various products are available in the country. Little hold data. Mostly stored products in India are the potato based. And the multi-purpose means where many fruits can be stored together, different fruits in different chambers. Unless this is what government is promoting now, having many chambers, mostly around the urban areas where, because all the fruits and vegetables, they have different storage temperature and humidity requirements. So for the multi-chamber, multi-community is the most suitable one. Fruit and vegetables still less. Meat and fish very less. Milk products, yes, they have now storage less because they don't store milk and meats. Therefore, they just buy fresh. Here, both the cases, and others where your pharma and other things come. So still we have to go a long way for various products. Coming to the operating cost, you can see that energy expenses in India are very high. We have the about 56% expenses are the power, because our power is very expensive. Where in the developed countries 10%, because they have mostly the nuclear energy, which is cheaper to operate. We have the thermal or the coal or the hydropower power. Operating cost in India is also $2 a ton, whereas it is used in one developed countries one. And so the capacity in India, cost of capital cost per metric ton is come 800,000 rupees in India, and developing countries come to the 5,000 rupees in those countries. So we are little expensive because of the technology is low, the adoption is low. So therefore, in India the operating costs are too high, and therefore the technology was inefficient. But therefore, government subsidies are there, soft loans are there to let promoters come up. Yeah, the region-wise average capacity is how it is a meter scale available. In North America, average size of a cold store 18,000 cubic meters. Europe it is 5 to 8. Coming to China it is 3, and we have 5,000 capacity, because mostly the potatoes and bigger produce are tamarind, or the chilies, or the spices, or the coriander or cumin. They are go to cold store. They build in months. How much time it takes? North America take about 9.5 months to build. Europe 7, and we make in 3 to 6 months, because you have enough of labor, enough of the raw material to make a cold store. China take 14 months. So this is how we are fast on this front. The region-wise commercial cost of the land, we are the one of the very expensive land in the world. In India, mostly all Asian countries are very expensive. $4.4 million per hectare of meter, and China is less than us, but other countries still lesser. In Asia, land is very expensive because of the much of the inhabited population. So the competition for land allocation for resources, including coal chain, is little much more. So even if government is trying to develop the coal corridor, western corridor with the coal chain from Delhi to Mumbai and rest of the places, it's taking a lot of time, because the land acquisition and other things are very difficult. So land is very, very expensive in the Asia, including India. The average cost of construction here in India also little higher than China, but much less than half than America and Europe, Central Europe. So that way, because mostly labor is cheap and our local resources, raw materials are cheaper. Labor also is very cheap in India. You can see the last column. We just pay about 3,300 or 400 rupees a month to a laborer, which come to $0.50. But you see, the rest of even China is double than us. Other countries are so much higher from labor front, and labor play a very important role, whether in the construction of a facility, or running of a facility, or maintaining a facility. So therefore, we are very cheap in labor, which is a good plus point with us. Therefore, many Chinese companies are shifting to India now. And as per the World Food Logistic Organization, very important factors in a cold chain, you see temperature, humidity, CO2 level has to be low, because respiration, if you keep on going, then nutritional value of your food goes down. Your loading rate has to be slow. If you immediately load all the produce in a cold room or cold chamber, it goes bad, because of the cooling rate is less. You pull down time means your pulling down of temperature has to be very fast. Pulling down when you load a particular produce, when you sit 10 people immediately in a room before some fan or some air conditioner, and you feel little suffocated. So your loading rate and pull down has to be very appropriate. And air circulation, I already showed you some example how potatoes are getting bad, how produced, because air circulation is not enough. Cold air has to go. Suppose if we are sitting in a room and we are getting little hot, we move from that place to nearer to the fan, so that we get little comfortable place. But fruit and vegetables cannot do that. And ventilation, of course, the exchange of air, bad air, that is another requirement. So ultimately, what the university can do, whether a university should do, how the government schemes, they have developed technical standards, and they provide a capital subsidy. So means there is a funding support and other support guidance available for those people who want to put these facilities. There are also global research teams. For example, various universities have come up with some recommendations. There is a Global Cold Chain Alliance, World over which, and WFLO comes under this. And others, they also done a lot of research, lot of data which available in the country, how to store things, how to move things. So they have a research and validation of research data available where somebody can put a facility and if people can guide it. Industry also, as you know, industry is a big player and they have real-time data and experience. For example, you talk of Amul, you talk of Reliance Fresh, you talk of Adani, they have done a lot of work in cold chain. They have real-time data and experience. So these partners are all are available there and they are stakeholders, they are farmers who want facilities, they are logistics providers who have the many reefer trucks and other things, there are wholesaler dealers sitting in the Azadpur Mandi and other places. And there are so many other players and growers also. So they are consumers, whether horticulture or produce or the farmer. But here you need to link these and university has to play a pivotal role in getting their small courses for technicians get started from graduate engineers for anybody who want to have these facilities from these sources. This gap has to be filled up. And probably universities or the National Center for Coaching and Application, they have to come up and fill up this. So this is really lacking what we have. Because in our country, it is running like a railway parallel line, they never meet. So probably we have to do something on this front. To do so, we have come up with some minimum requirement through technical standards available on the website by National Horticulture Board. And I used to be the member secretary for the technical standards committee. And they are just to ensure the system integrity, efficiency, overall safety of the human handling them and the food safety and maintenance of the environment and servicing facilities. So this standard give emphasis on this. This one is for bulk storages, mostly in the growing area like potatoes, like onions, like spices in the growing areas, around 5,000 ton capacity each. These are the green ones. These are the ones which are the multi-commodity, multi-chamber. They are being promoted near the urban areas where they are in different chamber. They can store products. In one, they can store the Glaxo powder. Another, they can store the apples. Another, they can store the spices. Another, they can keep another products. So they are being promoted because they become in loss because of the huge investment and less produce, and they become very efficient and economical because the many chambers and many products come therein. They are the new one, the controlled atmosphere cold storage for apples are coming up in the country and eat the apple for around the year. Through that, they are little expensive but paying you more. They are the ripening standard, how the fruit ripening, banana ripening, mango ripening happening scientifically, other than the carbide, which is the carcinogenic. And then this is the reefer standard blue for the reefer transport system, whether through sea or through rail or through road. So these are available on the website. Probably somebody want to take any project, any courses or any student, they can refer to them and they are approved by the Government of India, notified by them. Well, this is just to show that why we need these standards. As I said that we need various communities, they need various temperatures and various humidity regimes to store them. If you see them here, apples, apricot and grapes, they require temperature 0 to 2 and relative humidity 95 to 95%. So within this temperature regime and humidity, there are many candidates here. They can be stored here. But when you go to the same temperature again 0 to 2, but in case of garlic and onion, then humidity has to be kept 65 to 75%. If you go beyond that, then there's sprouting or rotting, which you saw in one of the containers being sent to Europe. So that's how the temperature and humidity have to be very specific to produce. You can see that these are the tamarind, okra and spices. They can store at 10 degrees, but humidity is here 85 to 90. Same humidity is here also for these groups, but temperature is different. Here 10, here 13 to 15 for this group, banana, papaya, lemons, tomatoes. Here still temperature is different, 18 to 21 for yams and sweet potatoes, tomatoes and watermelon. So even if the humidity is the same, temperature requirement is different. So how intricate it is to understand the product. Therefore, the data published by the World Food Logistics Organization is very useful and handy to plan your facility, to teach your students according to the product requirements. And then if somebody want to come up, then who are the financial player to help the investor? There are loans available from the commercial banks. They are soft loan, they are simple loans also, and all private banks and nationalized banks give it. There are cooperative and regional rural banks also, they give it. There are financial institutions also like IDBI and other FI, they give it loans. There's a NABARD also, they give it through their own scheme or through their another rural development RIDF scheme, they give loans. And they have another consultancy agency like NAPCON, they also provide through that. Subsidies available from the Ministry of Agriculture through the National Agriculture Mission or National Agriculture Board. Board looks after the bigger commercial projects where the investors are bigger. Mission looked after small farmers' needs, but subsidies are available to both at the same rate, 35% to the normal areas and 50% for the hilly areas where we come in. There are also subsidy under the Technology Mission Program or the World Bank under the same pattern. There are also subsidy for the cooperative from the National Corporate Development Organization, NCDC. So subsidies are available there. For commerce, export-oriented projects, APIDA give the subsidies for export if you want to export the produce. And Ministry of Food Processing give the overall produce in the integrated cold chain fashion, and they give up to 10 crore rupees grant per project at 50% for normal areas and 75% of the cost to the hilly and difficult areas. So there are financial avenues available if somebody want to go in. Only thing they need technical expertise to guide them to come up and maintain the facilities. Yes, now let's come to the pharma segment. We see that in order to ensure pharma product integrity of the product, it's very difficult. The material life of the pharma product across the supply chain, different facilities are required. For something can be done at ambient temperature 15 to 30 degrees C, because most of the pharma company they produce and handle and pack them here at 15 to 30 degrees C, mostly around here 15 to 20. Then there's another segment, refrigerated transport. This is the most of the some medicine they are stored or kept or transported at the refrigerated conditions, which is the 2 to 8 degrees C. If you look at the medicine which you go to chemist to buy, they take it from the fridge and they can maintain the proper temperatures. So most of the medicines they are to be handled 2 to 8 degrees Celsius. There are other things which are kept in freezer. Most of the vaccine they are kept in at the lower temperatures. There are also ultra low freezer requirements. As I told you, the COVID-19 vaccine coming up, which will store around 70 to 80 degree minus. So there is different temperature. Therefore, it's a big challenge to make the vaccine available across the globe, because supply chain will be very difficult for that. Everybody cannot fly to America to get that. And there's a vapor liquid nitrogen or the liquid phase of nitrogen. This is also another technology. If you remember that the revolution in the cow breeding for getting milk with the Jersey cow or Holstein freezer were brought down through the semen from the bulls from the Holland, from the Denmark or from the America, and that semen used to be kept and supplied to here. They used to dilute with the milk or the egg yolk and inseminate the cows, and that's how over the years the milk production has been enhanced in Himachal, and the buffaloes have gone over in 20 years time. And if you see other northeast states, the same things have happened. So liquid nitrogen also is for something for keeping medicine, some of the medicine, very rare medicine in this temperature. This whole range of temperature where the cold chain can play a role in the pharma itself. There are very 6 important challenges in the cold chain pharma, and any investor has to look at that. And universities can look at that. They can undertake some studies. Some students can be there to work on them. First is we have the 3rd largest producer of the pharmaceutical in the country in terms of volume. This is the background that we are the 3rd largest producer of the pharmaceuticals. And there are the low cost manufacturing, and government subsidies makes India attractive for export production. If you go to export oriented zones, you go to see Baddi in your area, you see Dehradun, you see in Kerala some different pockets. They all are Sikkim, you go most of medicine they come from Sikkim. So those government subsidies are available in those export zones to make India very attractive for export production. So there is low cost of manufacturing and government subsidy, they make it very useful for India to go for pharma, and therefore we are the 3rd largest producer also. And there are many Western countries, they have developed partnership with Indians because we, being technical, are a little more sensitive to technical sincerity. So those Western countries, they have collaboration with India. They are producing good things in India. And demand for medicine made in India is going very high in US and Europe and is expected to grow and sustain over a period of time. So this is background where we will require cold chain at all stages of development and application. But difficulties are our cold chain market is very fragmented and the visibility of the cold chain is very poor because some people with getting the lurement of subsidies and land, they come up with facilities, they remain in the market and the production area for 2 3 years and then they vanish. So it's a big challenge how to continue that infrastructure go waste. So their market is very fragmented. Market means not the selling, but even the production market is very fragmented, and therefore the visibility of cold chain is very less because when they keep on changing the ownership, nobody invests in the cold chain. Here, paperwork is very tedious, and therefore administration is very tough. So there is another hurdle. Therefore, people don't trust them. So people, any sincere worker feel little handicapped how to reduce paperwork, how to put system in place. Trucking and delays is another important thing in this thing because after immediate production, it has to pass through cold chain. So you know the condition of our highways, which are improving now, but still after rain season, you can see the condition, how the delays happens, how the medicine are to be shipped and transported within the very short time in the cold chain. And when if the your road is blocked, then probably your truck is stopped on the way and your diesel will not operate the cold chain for longer after 6 months. So your medicine will go bad. So trucking and delays is another important thing. Then special airline service is needed to ensure unbroken cold chain because like flowers what we do, we export from farm to the airport and airport to Europe. So medicine requires still much more sensitive cold chain in pharma. So on the special airline services, for example, now services are broken. So most of the products are not being exported. So production has been slowed down even in case of pharma. Whereas the other companies world over are encouraging pharma production to enhance the COVID situation and improve the nutrition. We are able to do less because we don't have the uninterrupted airline services to link the cold chain. Also the high temperature and very high humidity in country in India like us is a big problem challenge, and then to avoid that availability of cold storage is a little poor for the pharma. Some new investors who work for pharma company, they come out and start their own facilities. So this is just in the pipeline, but then this is another hurdle that your high temperature and high humidity make the cold store very less available and people are not able to produce. And then the lack of the quality orientation and overall training, as I discussed, on every phase of production and transport, we require skilled manpower, skilled or semi-skilled, these are lacking. So these are a few challenges in the pharma segment where universities can at least give some courses or some sort of orientation a week or 2 weeks. With these words, I thank you very much for the basics application of this, and thank you to the university, but I must thank to the National Horticulture Board where I spent 26 years of my life, started from assistant director and retired as director, and I learned a lot there because during that regime, due to this work done, government approved the opening of the National Center for Cold Chain Development where I was the founder director there. And with that, during that duration, I was deputed to FAO UN system for 5 years in Africa to look after on the Horn of Africa. So we did some good work there also. So this experience got there. After getting retired from National Horticulture Board, I was with the Ministry of Food Processing for 2 years to look after the cold chain projects as senior expert. And after that, I was working with the National Institute for the technical, this food processing enterprise and technical issues, NIFTAM. So therefore also I was there for as a consultant advisor for 2 years. So why I'm putting their names, because I have been trained by virtue of my working with them. So I'm thankful to them also and finally to Badi University for giving me this opportunity. Thank you, friends.
Thank you, sir, for this wonderful presentation. I'll request our panelists if they have any questions or not. Please unmute your mic and please ask the questions if you have any.
Yeah, friends, just feel friends and say anything you feel like, because it's very broad field and involve the application of biosciences, it involve the application of the engineering, it involve the financial investment, project planning, marketing, retailing, supply chain. So if you have question from any angle, please do ask so that we can feel that something what can more can be done on those areas.
Good afternoon, sir.
Afternoon.
Sir, I wanted to ask that even if the prescribed temperature is maintained for storing the fruits and vegetables, how do we ensure that their nutritional value is also maintained in terms of vitamins and minerals?
Yeah, you know that if we compare two situations where you don't have the cold chain and you keep the fruits in the ambience, and on the other hand side, if you have the proper cold chain, so so you can see that uh, if you keep in the ambience, then the respiration rate of the fruits will be so high that not only its carbohydrates will be finished, but even the all nutritional component will get diminished. It's the protein chain get broken, amino acid get disintegrated due to fungi and bacteria working over them. For example, if you look at the about 15 years, 10 years before, you get
Yes, sir.
used to get apples from the normal cold store, and after a month, if you eat them, they look like very soggy, very soft, and fragile. So it means most of the energy has been taken away by the respiration process, and in that breakdown, your nutrition value also goes down, including vitamins also, minerals also. So it will remain only a bhusa type of thing, very fragile and very fabulous. But when you think in today's situation, if you buy apples, they come from either from Washington, which travel through sea over long days in the reefer containers, or they come from China, Fuji apple, which you see, or if you see New Zealand apple, they are available in the country for around the year. Or if you see the Kannauр Himachal apple, which come, then they are stored and they are maintaining their nutrition value. May not be up to 100%, but to a major extent because of the respiration rate is just to minimum, because in the not only cold but with cold the oxygen level also reduced to 2%, and for normal respiration around 21 oxygen is required, 21% for us, and so the for produce also. So that the fruits, the oxygen in the CA storage would goes to 2% or less than 2 in the dynamic CA stores. So when respiration rate is slow, it is just to keep it to survive, like what happens to when we become sick and old, and so we are taken to ICU in the hospital so that we don't die.
Yes,
Just
sir.
to keep it surviving. So that's how the fruits they are kept in those cold stores so that they survive little longer and maintain the quality and the nutritive value.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Any other students who have any question, please ask, or any other panelist?
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir. I'm listening you.
Yeah, Bhardwaj here. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You are.
Yeah. First of all, I would like to extend our welcome to Dr. R.K. Sharma, former Director, National Horticulture Board, for his very informative and very valuable webinar on commercial application of cold chain in horticulture and farm. I remember the days, maybe in 60s or so, and there used to be bumper crop of apples or bumper crop of potatoes. And during those seasons, I think most of the extra produce which was not transported in time or on account of maybe landslides or other reasons, they used to rotten, these things used to produce used to rotten in the nalas or streams. And not only that, the apples, maybe not of that quality, but these used to be transported in the bag, gunny bag, jute bags to the Parwani during that MIDC, what we call the 7-Up apple juice or apple this thing. So you see. So, and same was true with respect to the tomatoes which were produced in the hilly areas or the Tehsils or the area where we have Rajgarh or Solan or Arki side also. You see. So the contribution, if we look at, of cold chain has been tremendous, and it has, of course, contributed in the not only the foods and vegetables or fruits also. But my question is, or query is, with respect to the food grains. Same is true with respect to the food grains also. It may be wheat, it may be rice or others also. That there are a lot of produce which is lying in the Food Corporation of India storage houses, which is rotten. Can we increase their shelf life by means of some method which may be adopted, which has been adopted by the cold stay chain in horticulture as well as in pharma sector also?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Saab. It has to.
Hello.
Yes. Can I answer?
Is it? Yes, it is.
Yeah, it has 2 points to ponder over. One is that if it is very expensive produce, so they are also kept in the cold store like they did palms. But one has to see in the end of the day that the cold chain add extra cost to the operations, power, infrastructure, rent, and human power. So if some sustain that extra cost for grains also, as is happening for pulses, or also, for example, there's a big seeing dana mungfali grown in Gujarat, and it's all exported. It is a huge, big, large size mungfali groundnut known as seeing dana. They export, so export can pay them high price. Therefore, they keep it in the cold store. But if we think that produce is not going to sustain the additional cost of cold chain, probably one will not go for that, because in the end of the day, it's a commercial activity. But for food grain, they are to prevent them from rotting and going waste. There are programs now coming up world over, including FAO initiative, how to prevent the food wastages and food loss. Because the food loss is the one where the quality loss, which is quite happening in India. And food waste is the one which is still can be used but is not reaching the human stomach. So food waste and food loss is contributing about 30% all over the world, including India. So your question is very pertinent, and to address this now, UN has also started a very special initiative through FAO and inviting some independent bigger project to help it. But on a smaller scale, there are facilities like the good silos coming up, good fumigation being given in the store so that all weevils and insects are died on there, and the storage has to be moisture proof. And your concern is very genuine, because we see this food getting rotten all over the country, and now they are sold at a throwaway price to the alcohol making companies for making the alcohol, and so people also deliberately spoil it, because they get the in charge of the facility of the Food Corporation of India. He will sell it a very cheaper rate to alcohol making companies. So we make a lot of buck in the process. So there are systems and structures to prevent them. For example, good storage facilities, good silos, fumigation facilities, insecticide. So there are available solutions to do that. It is only a will to implement that, and somebody's commitment to do that.
Thank you very much for your clarification. Dr. A second question of mine, or clarification I want to know about the storage of fruit and vegetables. That if we have low oxygen content or maybe high carbon dioxide, can we make use of nitrogen also, which is inert gas? That is one point. And or the coatings, you see, the inert coating which are being given in the case of specifically apples, we are getting these days in the market. What is the contribution of these two in the
Yes. Yeah, thank you. This is also a very interesting point. Because there are two terms. One is the cold storage, where you control the temperature and humidity. And another version is the CACS, means controlled atmosphere and cold storage. So, which means that essentially, in addition to cold storage facilities of controlling temperature and humidity, you control the gases also. So in gases, we reduce the oxygen level and we increase little the CO2 level, because increasing CO2 level also too much is bad, because then fruits start respiration from its own breaking down oxygen inside the system. So in order to fill that gap, we give the nitrogen, because nitrogen, as you said, is an inert gas. So most of the volume is constituted with nitrogen, so that fruit have less than 2%. And CO2 also cannot be enhanced too high, because high CO2 means the mitochondria inside the cell, they start breaking CO2 into carbon and oxygen. So in that process, fruit go bad. For example, if we sleep overnight, we close all our windows, we don't get oxygen in the night, तो हमें आवासी आ जाती है. और बस में बैठे हैं, बस बंद है, we get आवासी, because there is no oxygen available to the human people sitting inside, living body inside. So our mitochondria in the cell, they start a mechanism to break the oxygen into oxygen and carbon, but that do not last longer and is a bad impact on your health. So yes, CACS is good way, and many fruits and vegetables are stored like that. The most prominent are the apples and pears and cabbage. In Europe and America, cabbage they eat around the year, and in the greenhouse, if they produce in the winter months, then cost of production goes very high. But the maintaining them in the CA chamber is little less expensive. So the application of pears, apples, cabbage, other vegetables is there in the CA stores. So this application is very well accepted and available now. And we also, India has about 1 lakh ton storage capacity for apples in the CA stores. And they are coming up more. Himachal has around in Parvano, in Shimla, in Kullu, and mostly in Kullu. Coming to the second question of coating, yes, it is very important issue again. They putting especially the edible wax on the fruit. They make the physical barrier of trans-evaporation losses from the fruit. Or there are now another chemical known as the 1-MCP molecule also is internationally known as 1-MCP molecule. It closes the holes on the fruit skin for ethylene exhaust. So if the ethylene do not come out of the fruit, then ripening is slowed down. So with these waxes and the sprays, the respiration is slowed down, and hence the longevity of the fruit and its nutritive quality is maintained for pretty long. And more advanced societies, more advanced countries, these facilities are coming up. In India also is coming up very well now.
Okay, sir, thank you very much. Over to hello.
Yeah, thank you, Dr.
Yeah, to Dr. Mr. Chaitanya. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Any other student who have questions? Yeah. That will be all.
Good afternoon, sir.
Okay.
Afternoon.
Nidhi ma'am is here.
Sir, I want to ask that is there any other sector where we can introduce cold chain other than food and medicines, or are already introduced in your opinion or in your knowledge?
I think this Symbiosis University started. They were planning to start. I don't know they started or not in Pune. They invited me twice to help them make the course curriculum for them. And then there's another agency known as the GCCA, Global Cold Chain Alliance in Delhi. They do training on these different parts of cold chain applications. So you people can also associate to organize some sort of trainings of or refresher course or introductory course to your students where they can seek some job outside when they go. Not very big way, but just introductory course to basically to sensitize them. I think I have not seen your university so far, and I'm not aware of the facilities and faculties available there. But in the due course, probably this can be a small segment, which industry also can help sometime, because in ultimate, students coming out of this are useful to industry, and industry want them at any cost.
Yes,
So if you have some sort of group or consortium with the industry around you, then probably they were too happy to give you some funding to have this sort of training there for your young students, whether pharma or MTech or BTech or whosoever they are, maybe 3 months or 1 month refresher course or introductory course, and that'll be a good starting point for you instead of a full-fledged degree or diploma.
okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Vatsala, for your queries. Any other student interested? Ask.
Yeah, I would like to add, hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I would like to add that specifically in pharma sector, specifically the nutraceuticals, the drugs obtained from herbs or nutraceuticals, condiments and others, this can be very helpful. Thanks. Yeah, Chaitanya.
Thank you, sir. Any other student interested? I think that will be all for the day. Thank you, Ravinder sir, for this beautiful presentation.
It's my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And thank you all panelists for joining with
Sir,
us.
can you wait for a minute, please?
Sure, sir. Sure.
Sir, thank you so much for the presentation. It was a great presentation, and I've tried to sum it up into one small line, and that is that it was a presentation of opportunities, perhaps. Right from the beginning, I could gather that you were trying to show us the different type of opportunities available in the cold supply chain management. And I think it has been very, very crucial for all of us to understand here the importance of cold chain supply chain management, in both sectors, may that be the horticulture side or the pharma side. I personally was involved in cold chain management on the pharma side when we used to take these monoclonal antibodies to patients. And right from the manufacturing to the patient and consumer, it was a big task to maintain the cold chain, especially in a country like India, where cold chain is a big challenge. So thank you for your presentation, sir. It was really enlightening, and we are now. It's also good to see difference, because I was only exposed to the pharma side of cold chain. Today you expose us to so many different aspects of cold chain through horticulture and agriculture, where we saw lychees, mangoes, grapes, tomatoes, onions and bananas being put. I have three small questions, sir. One is, what is your perception of the awareness level of cold chain presently in the country? I know the developed world is quite advanced and they have a lot of infrastructure based on cold chain. But what is the level of awareness? Because I feel that you have shown certain courses that are being deployed for technicians who can take care of the cold chain. So awareness levels in the country right now, what is the current status, sir?
Yes, it is very important issue you raised because, well, I will be very blunt to tell you the background of this because today we have the IITs, which are the world level ones.
Right.
Our engineers, they work in most developed countries, and so is the case with NITs and many other engineering universities. They can do world-class research on engineering part. On the other hand side, we have the very good agriculture universities and scientists coming up with good so many recommendations. But unfortunately, if you ask any of the scientists to go and tell a farmer how to do apple stacking or apple storing or apple pressure test or apple TSS test or how many months to store, how many holes in a box, how many layers in a box, how many boxes one upon the other, even a scientist won't be able to tell. And we are the first and second producer in most of the products in the world. And so is the case with our engineers. If they can do world-class research, but when you tell them to design a cold store or to come out to a farmer rescue for a cooperative store, probably they will not be willing to do so, and they are not coming forward because it is a mix of biological sciences, it is a mix of engineering. Engineering means in terms of refrigeration, in terms of the airflow psychometry, in terms of the electricity, in terms of the structural engineering to make a cold store. So it is a huge volume. It involves trade, it involves the handling part, it involves the machinery, mechanization of the trucks or reefer or the palletization or the compressor and condensers. So it's a huge range of things. Therefore, many people don't risk it, their careers. So therefore, there is a huge need for its awareness creation. And I could do little, I should say that I could do little in this regard, and therefore the NCCD was created because I neither came from the engineering side, or neither I came from very much typical agriculture side from university teaching to go higher from a lecturer to professor. I just drifted away to the management and development of these projects. So there's a lot of need for awareness.
Of course, sir.
There's a very high need, and therefore we engage you will be surprised to know that we engage the Global Cold Chain Alliance to do this awareness in the country from America and paying huge sums from National Horticulture Board for giving this awareness and training and leaflets and exhibitions. And still we are doing so, because local initiative to do so is very less.
Right.
So you are very right. There's a lot of need to
loans being given, subsidies being given by the government that you've already mentioned in your presentation, sir. Isn't that being utilized by people across the country?
Yes, they do utilize, but the problem is that whosoever make a facility, he does not show to others. He thinks that they will just copy me or they will follow my this thing, and so awareness level ends up there only. And consultant who makes it, he also does not share with others because he thinks that he shared knowledge free to others, and probably his chance of getting consultancy for another project is diminished.
My God.
So even if they have their individual projects, they are living in the very, watertight compartments. So that's how things are getting bad. But here is very, very pertinent issue that once awareness comes up, probably things will move in different way.
Right, sir. There's one more question I have, sir, regarding investment for establishment of a cold chain store. So a basic store, by and large, a ballpark figure that you could provide, so that listeners here can think in terms of entrepreneurship.
Can you repeat the questions? The helicopter is flying over me, so.
Right. Sir,
Due to China problem.
Sir, in terms of investment for a cold chain establishment, if somebody would want to become an entrepreneur by setting up a cold chain plant, what is the basic ballpark for a simple cold chain plant, for instance, in horticulture or agriculture, or you have any number there, sir?
Yeah, for any facility size, number one will depend the activity you want to do. If you want to do pharma,
there be energy requirement, there be product requirement. That will be based on that. But if you have any ballpark figure, I mean, just to gauge, just to get an idea if somebody wants to do that.
Yeah. So, if you think of a pharma store, it may be 1,000 ton capacity. If you talk of multi-commodity fruit and store, it may be around 3,000 capacity. If you talk for the the potato store, it may be around 5 crore capacity, 5,000 capacity. And for the apple, somebody can go 3 to 5,000 ton capacity. So capacities will vary. Right. And so is the costing. So normally for about 3 to 4,000 tons capacity, investment come to 5 crore rupees.
Right. And how much of this can be subsidized and loan be provided for the same? Sir? How much of it?
Yeah, so about 35% comes as subsidy minimum. If it's a hilly state like Himachal or Northeast or J&K, it is 50%.
I see, sir.
But even if we assume that is 35%, then subsidy is not given directly because people misuse subsidy. They just eat it away as a easy money.
Correct, correct. Sir.
So in order to make it more fruitful, we have tried to link it with the loans, and loans are since from commercial banks. So they will ask back the loans and interest over that. So investor will have to work hard to make it successful. So the subsidies has been linked to the loans. So he will have to avail the loan, and loan has to be minimum to the level equivalent to subsidy plus 10%.
I see, sir.
So it means 45% loan and 35% subsidy make him 80%.
Right, sir.
So if you go for more loan, then his equity goes still down from 20 to lesser.
Right, sir. Right, sir. Right, sir. Final question, sir. What about is the programs that you showed regarding the technical aspects of cold chain management for skill development? Are they enlisted in the skill development side?
Yeah, National Council for Skill Development is trying to have these courses. They have developed some curriculum. But it is not taking off well because they organize this training. Then the yardstick is that 65% of the students who get training, they must get employment.
Right.
And that is not happening. So yardstick to judge the efficacy of skill development is marred by the availability of jobs. And hence many people are not giving training because then those NGOs or those KBKs will be asked to refund money because your target of giving employment generation is not achieved.
Right.
But as far as the course content is concerned, for various courses, for ripening, for cold store operations, for refrigeration, for handling, there are 3, 4, 5 modules which we have tried to develop about 4 years before, and I was one of the members on that panel. So they are available on the website of Skill Development Council. So if you somebody want to start it, then technically the material is available, but how to fund it? Probably somebody can approach the National Horticultural Mission, which is one of the biggest program of the PMO to have cold chain development, including the manpower. So probably some funding can be there from that component. Otherwise, industry is there.
Right, sir. Right, sir. And I would now like to request Nidhi ma'am to give us the speaker's profile. Nidhi ma'am, could you please?
Sure, sir.
Thank you.
Dr. R.K. Sharma, former Director of National Horticulture Board of Government of India, has served at various national and international levels. He had been Horticulture Advisor to Australian High Commission for 5 years and core expert horticulture, post-harvest and marketing with FAO of United Nations under South Cooperation Program for 5 years, looking after countries in the Horn of Africa. Dr. Sharma had been closely associated with horticulture policy planning for the last 40 years with special contribution in the introduction of the concept of integrated projects in horticulture rather than isolated components based development and cold chain development initiative of Government of India through its task force, technical standards committee member, secretary, and finally developing protocols for verification, certification of cold chain components linking to the level of incentives. He was also Secretary, National Oilseed, Vegetable Oils Development Board, Government of India. He has published about 20 papers, edited 3 books on cold chain and 40 journals, wrote 1 review book and 5 review articles. He is a fellow of the Global Cold Chain Alliance, US, where he has attended its technical programs GCCA Institute. He has worked for many developmental and commercial projects for USDA, GIZ, GFA, FAM, NITI Aayog, Ministry of Food Processing Industries, and Ministry of Agriculture, Government of India. Dr. Sharma is a freelance consultant for national and international projects, currently as international expert with GIZ for Afghanistan Economic Development and senior advisor to New Leaf Holland. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
With this, we come to the end of the seminar. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.